The rooms we carry with us. Ava Lindstrom never considered her life extraordinary until she was asked to write about it. She was 34, working as a language therapist in Oslo, and felt her story was too ordinary to matter. But the request, a simple essay about her past, forced her to revisit memories she had ignored for years. She began with her childhood, raised in an apartment above her mother's bakery. The smell of bread was a permanent part of her life, clinging to clothes and hair like nostalgia made tangible. Even now, decades later, baguettes and cinnamon rolls triggered memories she could not explain. Ava grew up believing that silence was a sign of failure. Her father rarely spoke, her mother spoke for everyone, and Ava learned to fill the spaces between them. Words became her tools, her armor, and eventually her profession. She remembered the first time she realized not everyone lived like her. At a friend's house after school, she saw parents who debated softly, who disagreed without raising their voices. Ava didn't know conversations could be so gentle, so safe. Her personal history wasn't dramatic, but it carried weight like a coat too heavy for the weather. There were no catastrophic events, no villains or heroes, just ordinary moments that shaped her quietly. She learned early that memory is not about what happened, but what stayed. In university, she discovered that people often reinvented themselves through storytelling. Some exaggerated, some softened the truth, others avoided entire chapters of their lives. Ava did none of those things, she simply went silent. That's when she met Henrik, a literature student who viewed silence as a narrative technique, not a flaw. He told her that stories were measured not by volume but by depth. She didn't fall in love immediately, but she fell into understanding. Their relationship was built on shared vulnerability, exchanged like fragile currency. Henrik spoke of his father's illness and the fear of inheritance, not money, but fate. Ava shared her lifelong habit of carrying responsibility that was never hers. When they moved in together, Ava found her past showing up like unpacked luggage. She arranged furniture around invisible rules she never questioned. Henrik asked, kindly, "Who told you life had to be negotiated with caution?" She didn't know how to answer, not then. Personal histories rarely come with labels or explanations, they arrive like weather. They appear, they shift, they pass, but they leave marks on the landscape. Their apartment became a museum of memories they had not asked for. His fear of hospitals. Her instinct to apologize for existing. They held each other through the echoes of people who were not there. Sometimes Ava wondered if adulthood was simply the process of hosting ghosts politely. Not haunting in the supernatural sense, but emotional apparitions, old versions of ourselves. The child we were. The teenager we hid. The adult we are still learning to be. Ava's turning point came during a therapy session with a child who barely spoke. He reminded her of her father, of all the words he swallowed before they reached the air. For the first time, she felt compassion instead of confusion. That evening, Ava wrote her first real personal story, not for an assignment, but for herself. She wrote about the bakery, the quiet father, the loud mother, the unspoken rules of survival. The words came slowly, like birds uncertain of flight. Henrik found the pages on her desk, gently reading without rearranging the truth. He said, "This isn't ordinary. This is human. That's what makes it important." For once, Ava believed him. Over the next months, she kept writing, fragments, scenes, moments. Stories that weren't climactic but honest. Stories that didn't solve anything, but illuminated what mattered. She learned that personal history is not a chain but a compass. It points backward only to help us understand where forward might be. What seemed like weight could also become direction. Ava realized that everyone carries rooms inside them, places built from memory. Some rooms are tidy, some untouched, some still under construction. Her task was not to empty them, but to walk through them with the lights on. When she finally finished her essay, it didn't feel like a conclusion. It felt like unlocking a door she had been afraid to approach. Behind it, not tragedy, but truth. Her life was not extraordinary. But it was hers. And that was enough.